What's up, guys? And in today's video, it's the death of my channel. We're going through the most racist fighters in the UFC. We've got a tier list here with 5 tiers ranging from eugenics enjoyer all the way down to assumed racism. And yeah, not much explanation is required. I'm probably gonna get taken down, but hope you enjoy this video and let's get started. First person we have is Muhammad Makayev, and he's going in eugenics enjoyer. You guys might not know, but Muhammad Makayev is incredibly racist. He goes on long rants and gets very agitated about Amir al-Bazi calling himself Arabic while he insists that he is not Arabic and is in fact Kurdish. He wants to, preserve the genetic superiority of Arabs in his opinion, and that's just matter of fact. That's what it is. And yeah, he's just not a big fan of Kurdish people, clearly. Slightly based, if you ask me. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with all the different ethnicities going on over there, but from what I know, he seems incredibly racist, so we can get around that. But we move on to the next person who's gonna be in the racial supremacist tier, and it is Conor McGregor. Mr. Mac, the notorious one himself, he's very big on preserving the purity of Ireland and the Irish people and the original inhabitants of the land. Kinda based, if you ask me. Doesn't want any, as he will call them, violent terrorists coming into the country and wreaking havoc. So Conor McGregor seems pretty based, in my opinion. He's also, made some statements that just indicates his racial supremacy and belief that the white race is superior to others, especially ones in South America, such as Brazilian. We all know what he said to Jose Aldo, if this was a different time, I would invade his favela on horseback and kill anyone that was not fit to work. Just very based from Conor McGregor. So yeah, he seems relatively racist. He's going on his little Twitter and he fucking loves just saying random shit and going on rants about how Ireland needs to be protected and kept to the Irish. So in my opinion, that gets you a based checkmark in my book. But we move on to another fighter. Next fighter that we have here is Cody Durden. He's gonna go in racial hostility. This guy, Cody Durden, does not like Asians. That is what it seems to be. That's what I have picked up from looking at many of his different tweets, which I'll put up on screen for you now. Fuck. Also, we know his post-fight interview, the infamous sending back to China where he came from, which was said to someone of Mongolian descent. Incredibly based from Cody Durden. Also, some of his tweets are just ridiculously racist. That's how I'm gonna say it. There's no cutting corners, there's no blurring the lines. That's just how it is. It's cut and dry. He does not like people of the Asian race. But we're gonna move on to another fighter. Chael Sonnen, undefeated, 50-0, never lost a fight, never lost a round. I'm gonna put him in the interesting comments section because old Chael, he's made some interesting comments, We know his thoughts on Brazilians as well. Him and Conor definitely get along on that aspect. But as Chael will tell you, Brazil is not an ethnicity, it is not a race, it is a nationality. So, yeah, Chael Sonnen, he knows what's up. He's not racist, he's just nationalist or some shit, whatever the word for that is. He does not like Brazilians, apparently, I don't know. And also, in his videos, man, I don't know, something about Chael, I just kind of pick up that, he'll just be like, okay, so, the question that we have is, does the crime rate in these neighborhoods, is that correlated and affected by the rising African-American population? That is the question I want to ask. Chael Sonnen just seems like he would just, say something like that. I swear he's probably said shit like that before. As he said, the Nogueira brothers, they're playing with mud while he's playing with smartphones. He's just ahead of the curb. Chael Sonnen, he knows what's up. And yeah, he's just elite. So Chael, good stuff. And we move on to another fighter. Chris Dorcas, the black victim himself, the man that has had his entire career and livelihood and happiness ruined by people of melanated appearance. Let's just say that. But Chris Dorcas, unlike Mr. Dober, he is unfortunately not able to unleash his racial preferences in the octagon, and he has to do it elsewhere in his line of work, which is, of course, being an officer of the law. You already know this guy is just Derek Chauvin these motherfuckers, just knee on the neck for at least 15 minutes. Like, oh, fucking hell. What am I saying? Yeah, if I'm not taken down from this, then YouTube's officially, like, they are not paying attention to fucking my channel, which I'm glad about. But, yeah, you know, Chris Dawkins, guarantee he goes home and just, like, he's in fucking Klansman meetings or some shit. Like, this guy's just online, just tweeting up a storm on a, like, alt account, just saying how much he hates black people. And yeah, he's a cop, so you already know he's taken full advantage of that line of work. But we move on to another fighter. Manel Kape. You already know this guy is going in, eugenics enjoyer. Manel Kape loves himself some eugenics. He knows what is and what isn't the right DNA, and he knows a DNA abomination when he sees one, just like Alex Perez. He is, of course, from proud tribes, from the Injudu, or whatever the fucking, how you say it, tribe in Angola, and he's got warrior genetics and superior genetics to those like Alex Perez, who of course are abominations genetically speaking. Of course, Manel Kape, you know, reposts racist memes, reposts people berating Asians in public, reposts people berating black people in public, which is very interesting for Manel Kape. And we all know how much this guy loves some German politics. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, Manel Kape, definitely a big fan of the big A, or the big H, the big Adolf, if you could say it like that. Manel Kape, yeah, just a very based individual. But we move on to another fighter. Through the Klansman Dober, the man on the thumbnail, you already know he's going in racial supremacist, because he clearly is all about the supremacy of the white race. Oh, fucking hell. Okay, we're too far gone. I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, Drew Dober loves himself a good, classic white family. Not a big fan of, you know, Chandler's practice of adopting darker complexion kids. Yeah, what am I saying with this video? Fucking hell. Yeah, Drew Dober, you know, as he will say himself,
they suck. They're not good. Negroes.
Of course, he's just not overly fond of the ones that are black.
He's a black. What?
Yeah, it's pretty clear and evident to tell that Drew Dober is a proud representative and preserver of the white culture and the supremacist belief. So yeah, we're going to move on from Drew Dober and this risky territory, and we're going to move on to someone slightly less risky. Kamaru Usman, you know, the CEO of EPO, the man that, you know, as Colby Covington will say, sent some smoke signals to his little tribe in Nigeria. And of course, Kamaru Usman is a big believer and a big fan of the preservation of Africa for those with darker complexions. He's not a big fan of other bloodlines that have existed in Africa, such as Afrikaans, like Dricus du Plessis. And as he will tell you, Dricus du Plessis is not African simply because he was born, raised, and lives in Africa, and many of his generations were also born, raised, and lived in Africa. If you don't believe me, just listen to this.
You know, just because I go to China and my parents are in China and I'm raised in China, that doesn't make me more Chinese than the people from China. That doesn't make me more Chinese. And so just because you went over to South Africa and you're raised there, that doesn't make you African. So
unbelievably racist from Kamaru Usman. Of course, you cannot be African if you do not look like Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya. Even though Adesanya himself is a hypocrite and will tell you that Robert Whittaker is not New Zealander, but then Adesanya is. So, yeah, sick. Kamaru Usman, very interesting choice of words there. He's telling Dricus to watch his choice of words, but in my opinion, you know, that was a very interesting statement from Kamaru Usman. But we move on to another fighter. Tito outlives his kids. Ortiz, the CTE master himself, the commander of brain damage. And Tito, I'll excuse this statement. I'm going to play it in a second, but I'll excuse it and I'll brush it off as CTE and just being retarded. But just give it a listen.
By God. They say that we were created by monkeys.
And you believe that?
To a certain extent, yeah. Because I look in the mirror. Because I look in the mirror and I sure damn look like a gorilla.
Have you ever seen a light-skinned gorilla?
You're looking right at one. People think I'm African American, and I have 1% in me.
Yeah, Tito, that's a rough one, buddy. If you listen to that back real slow, I think you'll get the chronological order of events of him saying, "We came from monkeys, and I look like a gorilla," and then 2 seconds later saying, "People think I'm African American." Very interesting from Tito Ortiz. Let's just move on with that because, yeah, not much else to say about Mr. Ortiz. Definitely a bit racist. We move on to the next fighter. Renato Moicano. I'm going to put him in assumed racism because something just tells me this guy might just be a little bit racist. You know, he's going off the hinges so much. He says he wants to be a SWAT officer or a police officer and stop the bad guys because the bad people exist in the world. And I think we know who he's talking about if I know Moicano. You know, I think him and Dober had a bit of a bonding session on the ground there. Like, they had a lot of grappling time, a lot of nothing, and I reckon they were just talking like, you know what? Let's just share some racist opinions. So I think Dober might have rubbed some of his, you know, political and genetic superior views. What I'm trying to say something here and I'm not saying it. Yeah, might have rubbed him off on Moicano, and Moicano, I do imagine, probably has some racist views. But we move on to another fighter. In Gary, he's going in eugenics enjoyer, and this might shock a lot of you. You might be like, what do you mean? Ian Gary is too soy to be any slightly bit of racist in any way, but you would be mistaken because Ian Gary's racism does not come towards him disliking another race, but rather, obviously, his eugenic enthusiasm has come through, and he does believe that, of course, the black race is genetically superior. Just listen to him say this.
Dreams, what am I?
You're on your way.
All I know is if I can have that extra 3% athleticism, right? And that beautiful fucking skin that when I get sweaty, I'm like, I look like I'm covered in crystals. I'm like, shit, I would be money.
Very interesting from Ian Gary. Of course, I'm no psychologist or relationship counselor, but I would equate this to years of him seeing his wife get piped by black men. That would just be my assumption on the matter. But regardless, he clearly does believe that, you know,
Black is in fashion.
Right? And that beautiful fucking skin that when I get sweaty, I'm like, I look like I'm covered in crystals.
Ian Gary, clearly a eugenics enjoyer and is well researched in the genetic qualities and the genetic makeup of different people. And he has come to the conclusion that black people are superior, and I'm sure he wants to be black so that maybe, just maybe, he can get a turn with his wife. But we're going to move on to another fighter. Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's going in racial superiation. You already know, I don't need to go into detail about this, mostly because I want to get this video done and not just have 30 minutes of me just coming across as incredibly racist. But yeah, and also I need to fucking get this done. But Shavkat, yeah, hates the people that Ian Gary likes. Let's just say that. We're going to move on to another fighter. Just look at our Shavkat fights. You know, clearly a more motivated approach when the skin color leans towards the darker side. We move on though to another fighter. Either Baddie Pimlet. He's going in racial hostility, much like Conor McGregor. This man, I could have put him in racial supremacist, but I'm going to chuck him in the tier below Conor because just he's not quite as based about it as Conor is. But this guy hates immigrants. That's factually correct. He said it himself. He's very against immigrants, does not want them in the country, and wants, obviously, Britain to the British and to the people that are white. He also does not want Muhammad Mikhaev to represent the UK because, of course, he was not born there. Sounds like a kind of similar, you know, the Kamaru Usman energy, even though Usman's is arguably worse because Usman's saying that Dricus isn't like a proper African, even though he was born there. But Paddy, you know, he's just saying you can't represent Britain, you're not British. So very interesting from Mr. Pimlet. So he is not a big fan of the Georgians. He said multiple things to Ilia Topuria, including this tweet here. You know, very interesting. definitely questionable statement from Paddy Pimblett, but we're gonna move on to the next fighter. Sean Strickland, he's gonna go in interesting comments because he makes a lot of interesting comments. That's what there is about it. Obviously, look, he did reveal that in his past he was definitely, he definitely would have gone in one of the top tiers, let's just say that much. But since then, you know, he's become a great person, an accepting man of all people, you know, except for, the Transformers. But yeah, Strickland, you know, just occasionally lets a interesting one slip. You know, he's made his takes on the Israel-Palestine situation. But yeah, I'm not gonna dive down that fucking rabbit hole. We're gonna move on before I literally get death threats. To the next fighter, Leon Edwards. I'm gonna put him down the bottom in assumed racism because I reckon this guy, he's got a touch of just some racist tendencies, you know. Maybe not the biggest fan of the Bilal Muhammads of the world. Let's just say that, you know, based off this question.
Hero, I would be.
What are you Arab?
No.
I just don't think this guy likes Arabic people or people that live in the Middle East or are from there, you know. I think that's why, you know, he's just not too keen to give Bilal Muhammad another title shot. Obviously, we saw in the first fight, that's the first time Leon Edwards has ever fought with aggression in his life. He quite literally never fights on the front foot, but he somehow, for some reason, did against Bilal and actually threw more than 4 leg kicks around. So clearly, a bit of motivation going on there. And also, does not want to give this man a title shot. I think he might be just a little bit racist because, in my opinion, it's like, Leon Edwards is like, bruh, Bilal, bro, you've done well to get to the title shot, bro, but are you Arab? Like, he just doesn't want to give him a title shot. You've done good work, Bilal, but, you know, I did the same amount of work as you, bro, but you're Arab, so I don't want to give you a title shot. Like, Leon Edwards he ain't having it. He's not having any of it. Does not want to give Bilal a title shot, but yeah. That's just my opinion on the matter. But we move on to the next fighter. Sergey Pavlovich. He's going right at the top. This guy, actually, I probably should have put him in racial supremacist, but he kind of fits in both, to be honest with you. He kind of fits in all the tiers, you know, he's got some hostility, he's got some interesting comments, he's got some assumed racism, and, you know, I think this guy might be a casual eugenics enjoyer. Just take a look at this tweet here from Sergey Pavlovich. Let's break down some of these points here, because this man clearly is incredibly based. What have we got here? So let's take a look. We've got USA pulled out from Afghanistan when Pavlovich arrived. We've got kills black people. So yeah, straight away. 260 pounds of white power. See, that is where, of course, the eugenics enjoyer comes in. Though 260 pounds of white power, clearly superior to 260 pounds of black power. Otherwise, you know, wouldn't have added that in there. But apart from that, like, kills fat people. We don't want no genetic abominations, you know, those obese fucks. Don't want them there either. Like, it doesn't have to be racial either. It could just be bad genetics. Like, he is, in fact, a eugenics enjoyer and a racial supremacist. Sergey Pavlovich, kind of based. Let's move on to another fighter. Bilal Muhammad, he's going in racial supremacist. And quite frankly, I have absolutely no evidence for this. I have no overlays to put on the screen. I have no tweets to put up. I have no clips of Bilal speaking to put up. But, yeah, Bilal, he's a racial supremacist and a terrible person. So let's move on to another fighter. Song Yadong is going in racial hostility because, much like Manel Cap, this guy does not like people of Latino heritage or from the South American continent. This includes, of course, Mexico, even though it's not South America, but this includes a lot of southern-speaking nations in, of course, the Americas. He just prides himself and all of his wins, and he likes beating people of Latino heritage. As I said, coming off a win over Chris Gutierrez, Ricky Simone, Marlon Vera, Marlon Moraes. I think he beat Julio Arce. I'm probably missing a few too. There's just definitely a bunch of other guys, but a lot of this guy's wins, and a lot of his KO wins too, are against people, you know, you could call them cartel members. But we're going to move on to another fighter. Tariq Duplessis, the real African in the UFC, of course, as he will tell you, Black Panther himself, We might have to rename him White Panther. But he is, of course, as he will tell you, the first and only real African champion in the UFC. Kind of based, in my opinion. Let's chuck the clip up on screen now.
I'm the African fighter in the UFC. Myself and Cameron, we breathe the African air. We wake up in Africa every day. We train in Africa, we're African born, we're African raised. We still reside in Africa, we train out of Africa. That's an African champion, and that's who I am.
Of course, none of this is racist at all. There's nothing here that is questionable or controversial in any way. Everything he's saying is, of course, factual information. Israel Adesanya is, in fact, Chinese. And Kamaru Usman abandoned Africa when he was like 2 months old. And really, apart from DNA, has no ties to the continent. So yeah, Dricus du Plessis, completely acceptable comments. Not racist at all. He's correct. But we move on to another fighter. Joe Pyfer. He's going in assumed racist. You can't tell me this guy doesn't just give you the vibe of someone who attended, the occasional Klux Klan meeting. That's just my opinion on the matter. Again, he's probably said some things here and there that might trigger some alarm bells, but I don't know. Just from from seeing the guy, this guy he has a lot of hatred towards the world, and I think he directs it towards a certain group of people, in my opinion. That would be my guess. But we move on to another fighter. Israel Adesanya, the last eugenics bender? Is that what we're looking at here? Because Adesanya is incredibly racist and also is incredibly enthusiastic with eugenics and, of course, DNA.
I don't need a DNA test. I don't need a 36andMe to know where I'm from. You don't even, if I do a 26andMe, they'll say I'm from Nigeria. Do a 26andMe DNA test. It'll tell you where you're from. I will show you where you're from.
And also, he does not like Dricus du Plessis and his skin color so much that he wants to...
You're going to beat him until he's black?
Yeah.
Much as we hate Izzy and detest everything that exists about him, you kind of got to give credit where it's due. That's kind of based from Adesanya. Look, rare based moment from Izzy, but of course that statement and any other based things that he said, which is few and far in between, are immediately, overclouded and taken back by the fact that his idea of eugenics is breeding with dogs. So we're going to move on to another fighter. Bryce Mitchell, again, racial supremacist. Again, not a lot to support this information. He's probably said some things here and there, let's be honest. But Bryce Mitchell, you can't look at me and tell me that guy is not definitely racist. So, not Bilal. Bryce is definitely a believer in the true American genes, the true white DNA, and of course, was created in God's image in his mind. So, good stuff for Bryce Mitchell. We move on, though, to another fighter. Mal Hill. Racial hostility for Mr. Hill, a similar level of hostility which he has towards both his family members and then also online trolls. He hates Brazilians. He can't stop fighting all of them and he wants to knock them all out and beat them all up, like Thiago Santos, Johnny Walker, Alex Pereira. He wants to fight him. He beat up Glover. This guy really doesn't like Brazilians is what it has come to, in my opinion. And yeah, Jamal just seems, again, just like Joe Pyfer, very hateful guy. Definitely takes it out on certain people. I reckon, he's not a big fan of the favelas, The slums, the Bronx are superior to the favelas in his mind. There can only be one ghetto in the world. So yeah, we move on though to another fighter. Colby Covington, interesting comments such as...
Who'd you get a call from? You get a call from frickin' your little tribe? They give you some smoke signals for you?
And
I should have knocked him out. Brazil, you're a dog. All you filthy animals suck. I got one.
It is undeniable that Colby Covington has at least some racist tendencies and opinions, but all good people do. We move on to the last fighter, Piotr Yan. He's going to, of course, go in assumed racist because you can't just... there's no way this guy's not racist. He lives in Russia. I reckon him and Sergey, he's Pavlovich's little sidekick. I reckon they're going around to bars just like fucking jumping any melanated individuals that they see. He hates black people ever since Aljamain Sterling won the belt off him by the DQ. And even before that, I think, that performance against Aljo, incredibly racially motivated. And that knee as well, don't even get me started on the knee. He looked at Aljamain, he looked at a defenseless, melanated man on the floor, and he ignored the advice of his coaches and kneed him in the fucking head and almost knocked him out. So great stuff from Petr Yan. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the video done. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's probably the last video you're going to see on the channel, because if YouTube finds this, it's not staying up for very long. But I think this was a great video. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, as Michael Chandler would say, the adopter of black kids. And yeah, let's wrap it up there, and let me know who you guys think are the most racist fighters in the UFC. Like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, all of that. Follow my Instagram, Left Lane MMA. Subscribe to my Patreon to support the channel. Link in the description. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.